Hey gang, Sean here from the Commander's Brew. You know us. We're that YouTube show where we do fun deck techs and a lot of comedy while we're doing it. So this week, we're going to brew around Toggo and his time-traveling rocks. Stay tuned.
Toggo, time-traveling rocks.
Right. So let's just start and read Toggo. So everyone knows what I'm talking about. Toggo is 2 and a red. Toggo Goblin Weaponsmith. Legendary Goblin Artificer 2/2. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a colorless equipment artifact token named Rock with equipped creature has 1 tap, sacrifice Rock. This creature deals 2 damage to any target and equip 1. And Toggo has partner. Basically, landfall, make a rock, and you can throw your rocks at things, do 2 damage. I think the first idea you're going to probably want to do is put Toggo with a green partner, because green is the best color for getting extra land drops, which means we get the most rocks that way.
Interesting. Yeah.
But that's not what we want to do. We want to use the rock as the scientific foundation for all future inventions and eventually travel through time, starting with the rocks. So of course we got to pair them with blue. So let me start you off by introducing Toggo's partner for this deck, Glacian Power Stone Engineer. 5 and a blue, legendary human artificer, 3/6. Tap and tap X untapped artifacts you control, aka rocks. Look at the top X cards of your library, put one of those cards into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. And he has partner. So Glacian can fill the yard. That's not our main focus though. We are mostly interested in the ability of Glacian to utilize the rocks to get another draw. I mean, we're allowed to, this is the interesting thing about Glacian, you're allowed to tap 1 artifact and just draw that card.
Nice.
And not have to ask any questions if you don't want to throw things away. But we also can go digging deep once we have tons of rocks. So we can already see how the rocks, these are not merely rocks, these are information. These rocks are the keys to the future of like drawing whatever we need.
Yeah.
So this deck is all about making rocks and making the most out of those rocks. They will not just be rocks for throwing. If you end up throwing a rock in this deck, you're doing it wrong. That's not what we're supposed to be doing.
It's so funny because I feel like that's the case for every Toggo deck. Like, I mean, I not that I've made or seen even that many of them, but just looking at Toggo, it's almost you're almost always going to want those rocks to just stick around, you know?
Totally. So it's all about land drops, right? Like we got to make land drops. So Andy, why don't you cover these first sort of part of the vegetables for getting more land drops?
Sure, yeah. I mean, this is a classic. Love this card, Burnished Heart. 3 generic for the artifact creature, the 2/2 that you pay 3. You sack it. You search the library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them on the battlefield. Put them on the battlefield tapped. Shuffle your library.
That's 2 rocks.
That's 2 rocks right there, man. That's yeah. I mean, 2 lands, 2 rocks. We love Bernie. We love a Burnished Heart. Great budget mana fixer. Is it the most efficient thing in the world? Maybe not, but I'll tell you when it gets better is when you're making rocks alongside of it. So that's pretty sweet.
And let's keep in mind that you don't have to tap Burnished Heart to get the rock out of it. So like we can use Burnished Heart as a replacement rock while we're waiting to crack him into a couple of lands.
That's right. Next we have Retraced Image. Single blue for a sorcery that says reveal a card in your hand, then put that card into play if it has the same name as a permanent in play.
Right, so we're looking at mountain or island.
Yeah, you're looking at mountain or island. This is just a notable card for a lot of maybe even just different decks in general. Just like maybe very common commander cards you see, commander permanents even. This could be a thing. But I love this like base use of it as we're putting a basic. And you don't have to have it in play, by the way. If anyone has an island, you can do it. Anyone has a mountain, you can do it. So that's going to be a nice base to start from. And then, yeah, I mean, in other decks, it might even be good for different things as well. Who knows? And then finally, we have Thoughtcast 4 and a blue for a sorcery that's has affinity for artifacts, and you draw 2 cards. This is often just going to cost you 1 blue mana, if not 1 and a blue, like whatever. It's going to cost you very, very much lower than 5. That's for sure.
Yeah, this deck is very it. So we want learning and knowledge, and we want to experiment with these rocks. And like a card like Thoughtcast, we have tons of draw in this deck, so that we can always have a lot of cards in our hands, so that we can retrace easily, so that we can always ensure that we've got something to do. We've got a land drop every turn. We got to make those rocks.
Best way to hit your land drops is to have a bunch of cards in your hand, honestly. Like, just keeping up the draw means you're keeping up the land drops. So, yeah, very important.
It's true. So that's the basic gist of things. But of course, we'd like to get things a little more interesting, and that means it's time for Neat Moves. Working on a Neat Moves. We're just going to take a second to handle a little bit of business. And the main point is, thanks for watching. If you want to see more of our comedic takes and offbeat decks, consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that bell to make sure you don't miss anything. And if you're loving our stuff and want to support further, the best way is to head over to patreon.com/commandersbrew. Find out how our generous patrons keep our show growing, and how you can get in on the brewing action too through our Discord. Or, if you'd rather, just hang out and play some games with like-minded Commander players. Now, let's get back to those Neat Moves.
Right on. What's this first neat move we have here?
Yeah, regular rocks, no good. But one of the ways we can upgrade our rocks is with Gear Up or Ether Grid. 2 and a red enchantment, tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Ether Grid deals 1 damage to target creature or player. That's been erected to any targets that will new oracle. So 2 rocks become 1 damage. I know that's way less damage than the rocks did originally. 1 rock can deal 2 damage. However, it costs you 2 mana and a tap of a creature. This is just now free. Every turn we can do 2 to 5 damage, maybe even more, anywhere we want. An excellent upgrade to the rocks.
Love that rock upgrade. This one is an absolute must-have when you're talking about artifact decks and anything blue. It's Shimmer Dragon, and it's from the Brawl decks, right? From the Eldraine Brawl decks.
Is.
From one of those.
Yeah, it's from Aliyah.
Right, Alila. Yeah, so the Shimmer Dragon is 4 blue for the 5/6 dragon. It has flying. As long as you control 4 or more artifacts, Shimmer Dragon just gets hexproof. So sweet. And then tap 2 untapped artifacts you control, draw a card. It's very powerful. Very, very good ability, obviously. And then just it getting hexproof is just too much. Not only is this thing a flying beater, it has hexproof. It's very difficult to deal with, and it draws you a ton of cards.
Yeah, it forces your opponents to deal with the rocks themselves. But again, that's the rocks. I mean, if your opponents know that the rocks are the secret to everything, all technology stems from the rock, then maybe they'll know they won't feel bad destroying them. But it feels bad to destroy a rock.
Do you think that all technology that we know about also stems from the Rock, but The Rock, that movie with Sean Connery and Nick Cage?
Okay.
Do you think that's where they got a lot of the ideas for the iPhone and stuff? Maybe they were like, hey, those green balls that are poison or whatever in that movie.
That is a popular hypothesis. A lot of other people attribute all scientific advancements to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah. He saved a lot of film franchises. And in doing so, maybe there's some new technology involved there that people started to ape, more of it and stuff like that. Maybe that's what happened.
Maybe.
These are good mysteries. These might make the list next time.
This is number 14th mystery.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a really fun move, neat, if you will. We've got Brutaclad Telcor Engineer in here. 4 blue, red, Legendary Artificer, 4/4. Creature tokens you control have haste. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you make a 2/1 mirror. And then you can choose any token you control, and all your tokens can become a copy of that if you want. It's an all or nothing thing. So if we want, if we've got an open board, we can turn all of our rocks into 2/1 blue mirrors, swing in for a ton of damage. Rocks are used to doing 2 damage, only now they do it by attacking, not by being thrown.
Sweet thing is if for some reason you need to switch them back to rocks, like if there's some interaction that maybe it's better to have them not be creatures, for example, that's pretty easy to do, right? Like just the next turn you play a land, you get a rock, and then you have Brooded Cloud's ability start at combat and just switch them all back. You can do that.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Another card in here that we love a lot is Scare Tiller. I remember this card. 4 generic for the 1/4 artifact creature Scarecrow. Whenever Scare Tiller becomes tapped, choose one. You can put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, or return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This card is so good with Toggo and making all the rocks, whether you got a Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, something of that nature in your graveyard, or just through some milling that we did with what's his name? Glacian. Yeah, we did some milling with Glacian. Obviously, a couple of those are going to be lands. Scare Tiller is going to come out there and, no matter what, be able to do his thing, because Glacian can tap the Scare Tiller, right? We don't have to be attacking with him. Make it happen, and then put the land that you... Now, how's the order work? If you tap Scare Tiller with Glacian's ability, do you put Scare Tiller's ability on the stack and then Glacian's stuff goes in the... Like, how does that work?
That's an excellent question. What we're asking... So
Glacian's...
Tapping Scare Tiller is part of the cost of Glacian's ability.
Right.
So I actually don't know that answer. If paying for an ability causes a triggered ability, where does that go on the stack with the ability you just paid for?
It feels like, and this is a classic Commander's Brew moment where we're talking about rules and everyone's yelling at their screen / their phone or something. Because it's part of the cost, you tap it, so his ability goes on. But then does Glacian's ability also go on because the cost has been paid? Yeah, right?
Well,
his ability goes on, so then his stuff resolves first, and then the Scarecrow happens. Or does Scarecrow happen first and then this? Who knows, I guess.
Like what if you had a fling, but you also had an aristocrat on the board? Does the fling damage happen before the loss of life, or does the loss of life happen before the fling? I don't know. Because a creature died for you to put fling on the stack. But
yeah, I think so. I think it goes on the stack and then it goes on the stack. I think that's how it works.
Well, what goes on? So you can't
like
say
like
it
the
goes
like
on
the
stack,
thing
then
that
it
like
goes
the
on
cost
stack.
like what we did for the cost to happen. So the sacrificing, which you're talking about a different ability. We're talking
It's
about
just easier for me to get my head wrapped around it. A more common.
It's just a totally different thing. It's equally as confusing. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Let's say it does work that way, where you get to do Glacian's thing first. Great, you can put a land out with the Scarecrow. Perfect. If it doesn't work that way, no big deal, because you can do the tap that puts something from your hand right out, or you probably already have something in your graveyard. So either way, it's going to be great. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about us and how we don't understand the rules. It's fine.
And just keep in mind that is only relevant for the moment where you're just like, I have got no lands in the graveyard.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
That's
it'll probably work.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, we do run Cultivator's Caravan, so like that's a crewable mana rock. Yep. So that's one way. Scare Tiller needs a couple extra power to crew it, but that is one way to make that happen.
You can still crew it unsuccessfully, right?
Yeah, but you need more. You need 3. You can't crew it with 1. You can't just tap on power.
Oh, really? You can't? Okay.
No, you have to. So I guess it's you can't crew unsuccessfully.
Right. So you can't crew unsuccessfully. Okay, I didn't know that.
No.
There you go. Yeah, tap any number of creatures you control with total power 3. So you have to at least hit the 3. Yeah. Interesting. I did not know that.
So this deck is obviously running Inspiring Statuary. That's another excellent use for rocks. 3 generic for an artifact, and it says non-artifact spells you cast have improvise. which means you can tap artifacts to pay for the generic mana costs in it. That means rocks become mana now. Rocks become literally mana rocks.
Yeah, they
do. That is literally what they've become. And this card is so key in the deck. We want to get it out, and we've got a couple ways to tutor for it. We've got War of Invention, which is X blue, blue, blue instant, and it has Improvise. Search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less. We're going to pick 3 to get Inspiring Statuary. And also Trophy Mage, which is the 2 in the blue 2/2 wizard that when Trophy Mage enters, tutor up a 3 mana artifact, put it in your hand. So Trophy Mage has a couple of targets if we've already got our Statuary. War of Invention can get anything that we choose if we've already got Statuary. But getting Statuary down basically means we're paying everything we do just costs that whatever normal pips are on it. We've got nearly unlimited colorless mana at that point.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and just to add to that, right? Reshape is another thing like that.
Yeah.
X blue blue sorcery as an additional cost, sack an artifact, tutor up an artifact of cost X, put it into the battlefield. So we get to upgrade a rock into Inspiring Statuary. And aren't most statues carved out of rock anyway?
I love Inspiring Statuary. I've said it before. I think I'm guilty of not following my own advice here. But like now that I look at this again, I'm like, yeah, if you're running Worn Power Stone in your deck, like which is 3 mana, enters taps for 2, Inspiring Statuary is often that for even just like, and it's even better when you're not trying to cast a bunch of artifacts. Like if you have a few artifacts like any normal deck does, like you've got a Swiftfoot Boots or a Lightning Greaves or anything that's running a couple of equipment like that, all you need is one more artifact on the board that isn't already a mana rock, obviously. That this can then tap, and then all of a sudden this thing creates 2 mana for you because it itself will tap for non-artifact spells, right? So I think there's a strong case that Inspiring Statuary is, as good as something like that, like a Worn Power Stone. The other upside is that Inspiring Statuary can essentially tap for mana the turn it comes in.
It's true.
Which Worn Power Stone can't. And I love Worn Power Stone, so I'm like, yeah, I should get some more Inspiring Statuaries.
Yeah. All of those draw. So I mentioned we got tons of draw. So now it turns all those cards like Glimmer of Genius, 3 in a blue, instant, scry 2, draw 2, get 2 energy. We've got a handful of cards like this, which become draw 2 for a blue, which is an amazing thing to do when you have a bunch of rocks, which lets us get more land draws, which lets us get more rocks.
I love this little inclusion we have here. Yeah. Like how you call this, the ultimate way to get more rocks.
Yeah.
Is to take extra turns.
Right. This is the time travel we were referring to. The ultimate victory. If you are obsessed with getting rocks, the only way to get more rocks is to get more land drops. And the best way to do that is to take more turns.
It's like creating a time machine, going back in time and then just picking up rocks off the ground and taking them back with you. Just regular rocks. I love it.
Isn't that the perfect, is it madcap
absolute
plan?
Mad science. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's also funny because you talked about Glimmer of Genius. It's like, well, you get that 2 energy, but who cares about that? Well, I guess we do because Gonti's Aether Heart is in this deck. 6 mana legendary artifact. Whenever it or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you get 2 energy, and you can pay 8. They really got to do something about that.
Yeah.
Like if they ever bring energy back, we gotta have a numbered icon that's gonna tell us about the energy.
Yeah.
Pay 8. Exile Gonti's Aether Heart. Take an extra turn after this one. So you only get it the one time, but it's good.
But we're getting to like every rock is 2 energy. But also like now we have an excuse to run Aetherworks Marvel also. So let me tell you, in a playtest, having Aetherheart plus Aetherworks Marvel on the table at the same time is incredible because every rock gives us 2 energy. 3 rocks gives us a spin at the Marvel, not to mention if cards are leaving. I mean, we skipped over this, but this deck is jammed full of all the extra turn spells that we could afford. All the ones that were in whatever budget we've decided.
Right.
My threshold was less than $10. I only wanted to include extra turn cards that costed less than 10. But once you're able to spin the wheel and look 6 cards deep and just cast one for free, you know, if you got an extra turn spell in there, cool, there's my extra turn. Another rock gets me a third of the way to the Marvel. A couple things go on. Of course, we're running Nahiri's Lithoforming, X red for a sorcery, where you get to sack X lands. For each land sacrificed, this way, draw a card, and you get to play X additional lands. So they come into play tapped, but that just becomes more rocks. So that's more mana with Inspiring Statuary, or maybe that's the rocks. If you have Inspiring Statuary, you can tap the rocks that you would like to give to cover all of your X. Pay red, tap the rest of your lands for mana and float it in your pool, sack all of them, draw a ton of cards. Aetherworks Marvel sees like 10 things go to the yard, so it's 10 more energy. There's another spin. Like you probably drew an extra turn card to cast on the extra mana you got floating. There we go. We'll just keep the cycle going. This deck, this is the most is it feeling deck I can imagine, because it's just a bunch of ludicrous moving pieces that eventually you're like, what is happening? You're generating hundreds of mana and taking all the turns.
I love how it also like it started from a rock and now it's built up into, and it's also started from two of the things that Is It does really well, which is deal with artifacts and have a lot of these like artifact synergies, and then turn into like big spells. Like, you know, another one you have here is Walk the Eons, right? This is an extra turn spell, 4 blue sorcery. Target player takes an extra turn after this one. It has buyback, sack 3 islands.
Right.
Well, I mean, just like you said, you're already sacking a bunch of lands for the Nahiri's Lithoforming. Like Walk the Aeons, you're probably fine to do that as well, right? So.
Well, and I wanted to highlight Walk the Eons specifically because that buyback spell, again, Inspiring Statuary is so crucial. I've got all these rocks out. I can use all my rocks for the 4, pay blue, float an additional blue, and sack those 3 islands. And I have all the rest of my mana accessible for this turn. My rocks are still hanging around. I can do this again as long as I have multiples of 3 islands. And this deck runs a ton of basics. We've been drawing them. We've been casting them. It's not hard to keep taking extra turns with this card alone. It's one of the best ones. And you can pay additional costs for when you cast for free. So if you Aetherworks Marvel into this, you get to just sack 3 islands and cast it anyway, and it comes back to your hand.
Wow. That's pretty wild. Yeah. It is very Is It. It's very Is It. It does all the things Is It likes to do. You kind of storm in a way here too, right? Like there's definitely a storm feel to this where you're taking a bunch of turns, you're spinning the wheel, you're casting a bunch of spells all at once. It has a very storm feel to it.
Yeah, but instead of casting all the spells in one turn, I'm casting all the spells over multiple turns.
Over multiple turns.
But I'm taking all of them.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah, it's fun. So thank you to the Discord helpers. Chiefy, Papadio, Neomaxis, Madisman, Loki Dragon. I did this one a little bit last minute, so not everyone had a chance to get in there. But thanks for everyone who participated. It was great. Yeah, super fun.
Sweet. Well, that's the Discord helper, so let's check out the budget report. All right, so this one looks pretty good.
Yeah, this one, I mean, it's a little higher than our average. The TCG Player mid was about 110. The low was just over $50. And that's like, it all comes down to, I made this comment earlier, how much do you want to spend on your extra turn spells? Because like there's some that cost upwards of 50, I think, and there's some that are like super cheap, and it's up to you. Surprisingly, though, the most expensive card in this deck is Sword of the Animist. This card's up to $12.
Wow.
That's the 2-mana equipment. An equipped creature gets +1/+1. It equips for 2, and whenever this creature attacks, tutor up a basic, put it into play. it's no surprise this card got expensive. This is one of the only ways to just ramp in a non-green. I shouldn't say one of the only ways, but it's the easiest way to ramp in a non-green color, right?
It casts rampant growth just for attacking. Like it's
very repeatable, good. Right? And so and
truly,
also
this should be a green card, right? Like this should be a green artifact for sure.
Yeah, I mean Nissa's in the art, so like that's probably a clue.
Yeah.
Right, and so like just in the context of this deck alone, when you attack, you put that land out, that's another rock, and if you're in your extra turn phase, you're just going to get another rock just for attacking every time, if you haven't won by that point anyway.
Right. Did this go up because of Morog?
I don't know.
Was Morog?
It doesn't work with Morog though. Morog has to have land drops in the main phase. You can't. It doesn't work if it's outside of your main phase.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess not. Maybe it did and people didn't know.
I think it's just a product of just being out for a little while.
Yeah, it's always been kind of expensive, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Like right away. Okay, so the next one we have here, this one $9. Yeah, Walk the Eons. We talked about it. It's the extra turn card with buyback. Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, these extra turn cards are not cheap. They basically never get cheap. There's a few that are kind of, I feel like there's only like one or two that are.
Well, yeah, I think the key is the fact that this one is buyback, so you can do shenanigans with it. But the main barrier to an extra turn spell seems to be whether or not it exiles itself. Right. If it exiles itself, it's cheap. And if it doesn't exile itself, it's pretty expensive. The next most expensive card is Time Stream Navigator. This creature is $7. 1 in a blue. Human Pirate Wizard, 1/1 with Ascend. You have to have 10 permanents to have this active with City's Blessing. But 2 blue tap, put Time Stream Navigator on the bottom of its owner's library, take an extra turn. You can't do it if you don't have the City's Blessing. But, like, I mean, Time Stream Navigator sort of exiles itself, but, like, I was playing a test. I do have a copy of Saheeli's Artistry in the deck, and it was a surprise to me that I was like, oh, I guess I can copy Time Stream Navigator, put the copy on the bottom, and then the top one's still here. Or God forbid, Brutaclad makes everybody a Time Stream Navigator, so now you're just like taking almost infinite extra turns.
Oh my God.
That's not what the deck's built to do, but that is a possibility.
That is a possibility. That should be a whole deck just of itself. Brutaclad Time Stream Navigators.
I mean, yeah, it could be. It could be.
Wow. That's a mean deck. I don't like that deck. That's but I also do. What if we had no budget limit here? Are there any big spells that you would include? It feels like some of the extra turn spells would be really great, obviously.
Totally. I mean, that's the easiest, most obvious upgrade. We probably want to upgrade to Expropriate. I don't need to tell you what that is. That's the one where you take multiple extra turns and get everyone's permanents.
Well,
but that card's down to $17.
What?
Yeah. Because of Mystery Booster, Secret Packs.
Secret Packs got this guy down from, I believe it was 90 at one point.
Yeah.
I believe this card was $90 at one point. That's great news, though.
Yeah.
How dare anyone ever say an unkind word about Secret Packs? Secret Packs is the best.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Other extra turn spells, Nexus of Fate, the Scourge of Standard, that's $25. Temporal Manipulation is the simplest one. It's 3 blue, sorcery, take an extra turn. Doesn't exile itself. That one is $25, $23, something like that. Like, I'm like, this is, I guess because it's only 5 mana. Most of these are 6.
Isn't there another 5 mana one, Time Spiral? No. Is that what
Not Time Spiral. I don't know. I didn't look them all up.
Do you know what I mean? It's the one that's always in the vintage cube. It's got the picture of a wave on it. Time Wave.
Time Wave.
It's definitely Time something.
Could it be this one with different art? Time Warp? Time Warp,
that's what it is. 5 mana. I guess that one's target player as well, maybe? Because there's got to be a difference here, and it's just that this one you can't target a player to do it. I feel like that's got to be the difference. Anyways, that one's also expensive, so never mind.
Time Warp is the same, but it's way cheaper, so I don't explain that one. I don't know.
It's cheap. Yeah, you're right. It is cheaper. Wow. Weird. Anyways, yeah.
So, and then the other obvious money upgrade, if you want, is like this deck is about making land drops. So if you have the money to put all the Scalding Tarn and the like, any fetch land that can get an island or a mountain, throw it in.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great. You got a Fabled Passage kicking around? Throw it in.
Yeah, anything that does that, I think that's just like prismatic. What is it? Prismatic Vista or whatever. Get one of those.
Oh yeah, if you got a Prismatic Vista, if you gotta drop some coin, what's that up to now?
That's got to be up there. Yeah.
Prismatic Vista is
that's the modern
$23.
That's the Modern Horizons one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, well, you know, what's the whatever. Well, what's the other one? The what's the one that's from like recent standard where you get, and if you it's a
Fabled Passage.
That's it. Fabled Passage. Yeah. How much is that one?
That one's $7.
Okay. You know, I mean, that's something to think about. And that's if you have, and then if you have 4 more lands, it enters untapped. So it's like pretty similar. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, it's all nice. It's all nice and good to talk about extra turns and talk about the various expensive lands that we could blow all of our money on. But we have an important job to do. We have to rush over to the Audrey Awards and we have to present, we have to present our award for the evening. So let's go do that pronto. It's always a pleasure to be here. The Audrey Awards, wonderful, the wonderful Kodak Theater, of course, always the home of the Audrics. Who I see here today? Oh, there is Duretti in his wonderful little spider artifact thing he carries around. Well, you know, you weren't included in this one, Duretti, but maybe next time, you know, when we talk about an Is It Artifact deck.
Duretti is in the deck. We just didn't talk about him.
Hey, sorry about that, Duretti. I didn't talk about you, so I didn't notice you were in there. That's, you know, that's ultimately, that's on me.
And it's good to see you too. Bradley Cooper, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Bradley Cooper, of course, has to be here. Bradley Cooper. Yeah. Very good. Okay, let's talk about the award we're giving away this evening.
Yes. It is an honor and a privilege to present the award for the most worms on the floor. Most worms on the floor. And the Audrey Award goes to Blink Moth Urn. Blink Moth Urn. The most worms on the floor. Blink Moth
wow.
Urn.
Blink Moth Urn. Good. Wow. Amazing. Look at all. Let's see. Look at. Okay. I see what I was like, wow, worms. I see now. It looks like there's a lot of worms behind the urn.
On the urn is on a table, and we can see the floor behind it, and it is covered in worms. This is the 5-mana artifact at the beginning of each player's pre-combat main phase. If it's untapped, that player adds colorless mana for each artifact they control.
This is a wonderful artifact, and it is a shame that its owner has so many worms just lying about. But you know what? They're wonderful. They're nice colors.
They must be a hoarder.
They must be. Yeah, the worms are different colors, so at least it adds a nice rainbow feel. There's some orange worms, there's purple worms, there's some green ones there, so it's quite nice. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Thanks for viewing the Audrix. Thanks for attending this evening's awards ceremony. Of course, PricewaterhouseCoopers are the ones who gave us the awards in the envelopes and in the briefcases and everything like that. We got to get that out. That's legal stuff. Okay. All right. We'll be back next week, everyone, with a brand new Commander deck tech and some fun stuff for you. So come on back. We'll see you then. Bye.
Good night.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too, and for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.